Alright, so welcome. Today I'm going to be doing pretty much a modding tutorial on how to add custom models into the game, or more so basically how to navigate the Unity editor whilst adding in a custom part and focusing on part modifiers and all that kind of stuff. So just think of this as basically a videoized version of the how to add a part. And I also thought I'd mention that this is not going to be covering how to add rocket engines. That's a completely different system. They have their own entire tutorial here, and I might make a video version of this as well eventually, because I know how to do this now pretty much very easily. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to the Juno website and then go to content, mods, how to make mods, getting started. Do this entire section. There's no need for a video on this section. It's like really simple. Though I will show you how to import the actual mod tools just so you know. So you need to download the correct Unity version. That's right here, 2022.3.20 F1. That's the current version. It might have changed by the time you're watching this, so make sure you check that it's correct. If it should be correct in here because it gets updated every time, I believe. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to go into Blender and we're going to make a very simple model. So don't laugh at my model because it's meant to be simple, and I definitely don't suck at modeling. But basically I'm going to make a very simple model that we are going to import into the game because, well, that will show you that it's worked pretty much, and that will show you how to export from Blender, how to add trims and all that sort of stuff. So let's go into edit mode, and what are we going to do here? So what we're going to do here to basically make this so we can color this in different ways using the trim system in game, we are going to go to the materials tab down here, and we have a default material. I am just going to, let's see, oh, I need to turn this on, there we go. So now if you click this one, it will show you the different materials basically. This is just default colors materials. So yeah, you can see that this material here is white. I'm going to name this primary for a primary trim. So we have the primary trim, and that's going to be for the whole body. That's your first color. As you know, in the trims you have primary, trim 1, 2, 3 and 4. So then we're going to no, not like that. I'm going to select this, what is this called? We're going to select this part. We'll select both these parts actually. Maybe this one as well, and then we can have the inset color. So yeah, then we're going to click the plus button and new, and this will add a new material, and this is going to be called trim 1. You don't need to name these, I don't believe, but it helps. At least it's better. It's a good practice to name everything in Blender. I don't follow that often, but I am going to follow it here just because it's possibly going to help you out in the future when you're making complex models and you have 1,000 trims. So just for visual sake, this really doesn't matter within Unity itself, but just for visual sakes, I'm going to change this to a different color. And then what we have to do, so we have trim 1 here. You can see it's like black on here, and if we click preview you can see actually what it's going to look like here. And then we just click assign when we have this selected, and now you'll see it's now got 2 different colors here. Of course, your model will most likely be more complex than this. You'll probably be a Blender Pro, unlike me. So this is just an insanely simple example. I didn't want it to be complex because that would take up too much time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to export FBX and everything else. Okay, let's make sure we click just mesh. So it's just going to export the mesh. Okay, so I'm going to export into the folder. That should now have exported into our files. So now we're going to go into the Unity Hub, which you should have downloaded following said tutorial. We're going to click new project, and we're going to make sure up here that it says editor version 2022.3.20 F1. That is the current version. So whatever the current version, as I said on here, whatever this says, make sure this is what you have up here. So we're going to have this one. Then we're going to click on 3D, and then we're going to name our project. So then I'm going to make sure the location is fine. That's fine. And we're going to create a project. Now this is going to make a new Unity project. and it's going to take a little while because it's loading for the first time, so it's going to take a little bit longer most likely. Okay, so Unity is now open, and what we're going to do first thing is go to Assets, I believe. Yes, Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. There we go, I got it right. If you're on Windows at least, you want to go to Program Files, x86, Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Simple Rockets 2. It might be Juno New Origins for you. I don't know if that actually changes, but it should be Simple Rockets 2, I believe. And then Mod Tools. And in here, we should have the Simple Rockets 2 _ Mod Tools. So we click Open. And this is going to open up the Mod Tools for Juno. And here we can click Import. Make sure everything's ticked in there, of course. Okay, so after a lot of loading, we should now have the mod tools for Juno. So the first thing we're going to do is go up to Simple Rockets 2, which is a new thing you should have up here. Mod Builder window. And this will open the Mod Builder window. I'm going to connect it to the panel here on the side, and we're going to name our mod. So, and this is, once you've made this mod, I believe the name is permanent and you can't change it. So make sure you're careful and you make sure you get the name right the first time, because that will, I think that's the name that it shows up in the in-game. So make sure you get that the way you want it, pretty much. So I'm going to put my name in here. And then this stuff doesn't really matter. You have the mod description, but that also kind of doesn't matter. Like you can add that if you want, but you don't have to. It will just show up, I believe, in game. I'm going to actually add the description. So once you've added the description and you got your name and everything, click Start Creating Mod. And this will now load up all the stuff you need to make the mod here. And basically load up all the tools, so the mod tools pretty much. So there we go, we've now loaded everything. You can see this menu here. This isn't really important right now, but it will be once we want to test our mod or finalize our mod and basically build our mod. Or do a build of our mod. So what we want to do next is we are going to want to import this new part. So we're going to go to Content, Craft, Parts, and this is where basically all your custom parts are going to be stored, I guess you could say. So you have the textures, the styles, rocket engine, prefabs, meshes, designer parts, and categories, which is basically for, I'll put a screenshot of it on the screen in editing. It's basically where you have custom icons for your mod in the designer. Yeah, so that's what it's for. If you want to have that, you don't have to have that. You can put it in existing parts categories, like the default ones in game. Or if you have a lot of parts, then it's recommended to have your own parts category. But anyway, we're going to go to meshes here, and this is where I'm basically going to import my mesh. So we have the part model import data, but we don't need that right now. We're going to use it in a second. But what we're going to do first is we're going to go and grab our model that we just made. Now, once we've dragged our model in here, we should be able to see it in here. You can also see the different trims, and then you can see the mesh, of course. Make sure it's in the meshes folder. So next, we're going to go up to the inspector up here. Once we've clicked on our model, we should go up to the inspector. Not the part, not this. We need the inspector. So then you see this menu. We want to turn off all this stuff for importing stuff. This should stop it from importing stuff that the game doesn't want from your model, I believe. I'm going to turn read write on. We're going to turn off animation, and we're going to do this for materials. Then we're going to click apply, and this should get our model basically ready for the game, so it should work correctly. So then we are going to go into the thing next to our model, which is going to be in the meshes folder. Here is going to be the part model import data. So we're going to click add model. We're going to extend the models here. We're going to grab our model. And okay, go back into that. Grab the model and drag it up into here. And then now you can see we can extend this, and this will allow us to see our trims. So we have the primary trim 1 and trim 2 as we set on there. So you can set these to the different trims or whatever you want, but I'm going to keep them as they are currently because we don't need to do that. And then there's subparty ID, but we're going to leave that for now. So we're going to click Save Changes. And now you can see, if I just drag our model into the scene here, you can see it's got the different trims on it. So you can see the different colors there. And I'm just going to delete that because we don't need it in the scene currently. So next we are going to want the part manager. So we're going to go and click onto assets. So we go back here and I'm going to search a part. Actually, I'll show you the other way we can do it, but you can search it up. The other way you can do it is go into the Simple Rockets 2 thing here and then go into parts, I believe. Assets. There we go, part manager. And that will drag you straight to it. So it's right here. So I'm going to click on the parts manager and now you see this menu. This basically allows us to add in parts the way Juno likes it. So it's basically the mod tools. So we're going to click here and this will allow us to, as you can see here, create new part. So this is exactly what it says. And you can do this for different things. Create new part modifiers, create the part category, which is, as I said before, you can make custom part categories. And this allows you to basically make the name for it and all that. Texture styles, existing parts, So it's all that stuff. So we're going to name our part. We're going to call this the box thing and create part. So now you can see we are in a prefab pretty much. And the first thing we're going to want to do is click on prefab here and go back into content, crafts, parts, meshes, and grab our mesh. We're going to drag that up into prefab, and now you can see our part is in this view, and it's in the prefab now. So what we're going to do in here is just see if there's anything on. So actually it's auto assigned the mesh, or not the mesh, it's auto assigned the part editor test material, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. And it's also gotten rid of what is it called? The mesh collider. So if you have a mesh collider, so let me just show you this because it will sometimes do this. If you have this mesh collider thing or any collider, just make sure you click on there and remove it because you don't want that. And if there's no color on this thing and your trims aren't showing up, and then you can basically go into the mesh renderer here and you can see part editor test material. It might be on none, so it would look like this, but you want it to be on part editor test material, because that will allow you to see your different colors, which is pretty important. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, since we have a lot in here to go through, but the first thing I'm going to do, which is pretty simple, is attachment points. So this is basically what your craft is attaching, or what your part is going to use to attach to different crafts. So as you can see, this part currently has its attachment point in the middle because that's just where it is by default, and our part is put in the middle, so it's going to be in the middle of that. So what we're going to do is just drag the attachment point down to the bottom of our part because that's where we're going to want to attach it. And then you're going to want to type in, I think it's in here. I'm just going to make sure I check the tutorial because I can't remember which way you do it exactly. Let's see, because we need to rotate this. It is 90, so we need 90 on the X there. Looks like I couldn't remember. So because this attachment point is currently facing to the right, I believe, because that should be the top. So it's not facing the right way, so we wouldn't be able to attach it to the bottom of something properly. So this is now on the bottom and it's facing the correct direction, which is down. If you wanted it up, you would hit minus 90, I believe. But I'm going to have just one attachment point. But you can just, basically, if you go up into this bit, you can see attach points, and you can add an attach point and it will add another attach point here for you. So I don't need that, but what you might also want to do is name your attach point. So this is going to be attach point bottom. And that should be named in game if I recall correctly. So yeah, that will show up as bottom, and we can add more, of course, as I just showed you. And yeah, so the next thing, we're going to add a modifier, I guess. So if you don't know, modifiers are basically what you see in the hidden properties panel. It's how you add fuel to a fuel tank, how you give control, like inputs to something, and it's basically everything. So the first thing we're going to use, and now you can see there is a ton of these, so you have plenty to choose from in the base game. You don't even have to make fully custom ones when you have all these, but that's obviously if you want to make parts that are based on stuff that's already in the game, but you can still do a lot with what's here. So the first thing we're going to do is add a fuel tank. So we're going to click that and then click add, and now you're in this menu, which is in the part type here. So if we scroll down to the bottom, the fuel tank modifier is added down here, and you can basically see all these different things, but the first thing we have here is fuel type, fuel amount, and the fuel tank's capacity. So I'm going to put this on just 1,000. That's not a lot, but that's just to show you that it works. And let's see, do we have okay, it should automatically have a fuel line to the attachment point below, although let me click on here just to see if it says fuel line. There we go. So I'm going to click fuel line there just to make sure it's definitely going to feed an engine or whatever we put on the bottom of this thing. So we're going to go back to the part type here. And whilst you're in here, actually, something else, you can also see different things like you can change the mass, the price, the name, the trims, description, the category it's in. So I'm going to change the category to the structural parts category, and just double check, you go into default here and make sure that this is also in the structural parts category in here, because otherwise it might not like that. So let's go back into here. We can see activation group, we can change that. Display order, that's basically the order it displays in the part category. That's not super important, but you can do that. You have the part icon here, which is basically you can change how the part looks in the view, in the part, what is it called? The part library. The part library, is that the right word? I don't know what you call it. Where all the parts are, so you can change how it looks. You can change the angle, the camera offset, all that sort of stuff. The config is where the main core things are, I guess you could say. You can add heat shield to parts, include drag, mass scale, max damage, max drag, occlusion, I believe collisions in here, yeah, there is. Scale, the price scale, thermal mass ratio, basically all the things that every part has. Every part has this sort of stuff, and this is where you tweak all that stuff. So yeah, so we've done this to our fuel tank. You can change the fuel, so I could put solid in here or monopropellant, but I'm going to leave it as Carolox there. And so now we're going to add another modifier, and that is going to be the let's see, where is it? Generic part, there it is. I believe the generic part modifier lets us scale the part using just the scale slider, so we can make it bigger and smaller. Yep, you can see here, scale. So that's what that's for. So we've got two modifiers. I'm going to leave it at that just for now, but you can add different modifiers and try and figure that out. So if you wanted a fuel tank for a rocket engine, you would just add the fuel tank modifier, and an attach point that could have fuel go through it. And yeah, there's different things. So if you have a model that is able to work as landing gear, electric motor, detacher. Yeah, detacher is pretty cool. You can make custom detachers and all that. So yeah, all different modifiers for your models. So let's see, what are we going to do next? We are going to add collision, because I completely forgot about the collision. So we're going to click on prefab here, and we are going to create an empty object. After right clicking on it, of course, you right click and then click empty object. We're going to call this the collider Wait, is that right? I think that's right. So we got the collider now. And what we're going to want to add to this is a part collision script. So we're going to search up add component part collider script, not part collision script, part collider script. So let's click is primary. And then okay, I'm going to ignore that actually. That was just something I spotted. So we got that for colliders. Then we want a collider for this object, because currently it has the collider script to tell the game what to collide with, I think. But we don't have the boundaries of what our colliders are. There's no collider on it currently, so it doesn't know what it's colliding with, basically. That's simple. That's not what it actually means. But for this one, since it's a cubic shape, we're going to add a box collider. Not 2D, because this is 3D obviously, so don't add a 2D one. So now we have a box collider. So what we're going to do now is click this button, which is going to edit our collider, or allow us to edit our collider. So I would recommend going into like the orthographic view here, which is by clicking this little box up here. And now you can see the boundaries. So what we're going to do now is we're going to see these little boxes on the square. We're going to drag these, and actually if you drag it whilst holding shift, it will resize the whole thing, kind of. There is a keybind for resizing it both the sides sideways at the same time, but I can't remember which one it is. I've not used that for literally years, since when I was in college. So then we're going to just drag this up, and it doesn't matter about these right now. This is... it doesn't really matter that there's little holes right there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click one of these arrows on the left or right. It doesn't matter which one, because they're both on the same axis. And then we can resize the rest to the outsides here. I'm not going to be super accurate because I'm not going to be using this part but in the mod, but there we go. So now you can see we have a collider, and this is what the game now knows is the collision for this thing, basically. So if this hits the floor, it's going to land on this plane here, you can see, and there's different ones. So we've got a collider now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to test our part, because I think I've remembered everything this needs, because I haven't added a part to the game for a few weeks, so I'm not following the tutorial literally. I have it all in my head, so I think I remembered everything. We're going to save the part. We're going to obviously make sure you click on the top bit here, box thing, or whatever your part's called. It should be up here. You're going to click save part, and then go into the console and see if there's any errors. So we've got a yellow error, so that doesn't really matter, but it might matter. So let's just see what this is. The part type prefab instance has pending changes. Okay, so that doesn't matter. That's fine. In fact, if we clear again, let's validate part. Yeah, so look, it's fine. We can save it. You can click validate, and it'll tell you errors, I believe, and then you can save it, of course. So we've got no errors now, so that's great. That means I've done everything correctly, I believe. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the SR2 mod builder menu. And actually, we're going to go back to our project here. And now we're going to save this asset to our mod. And then we're going to build the mod in debug mode. So we're going to go to... Actually, we don't even need to go to that. What we can do is we're going to click on our model here now. Actually, no, we're not going to click on our model. We're going to go back, assets, parts, content, prefabs. Yeah. So this prefab, this is the modded part. This is the modded part with all its colliders and everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to select that, make sure you're in assets, content, craft, parts, prefabs. This is where the prefab will go, and then click save selected assets. So now this will save the asset, and you can see in here in prefabs it's saved, and that means it's saved correctly. Then what we're going to do is finally we get to test this thing. We're going to click save mod debug. Don't click this one yet. We're not going to use that one yet. And then it should automatically be, you should already be in your SimRockets 2 mod folder. So make sure you're saving it into the mods folder. Otherwise, you're going to have to drag it in there manually. And then click save. So now it's going to save the part in the mod. Okay, so it's saved. So what we're going to do now is open up Juno. So what we can do now is we can go and load the mod. So we're going to get play, of course, mod manager. And you can see here, the mod is right here for me, but you might have to scroll down if you've got other mods. And you can see author, the name is there, version, and the description I've written is also here. And that's where the description shows up. So if I go in here, you can see different descriptions for different mods. So what we're going to do is click enable and accept. Hopefully you haven't installed a virus on your own mod. That would be very silly. Then we'll go to the designer, of course. And in our structural parts, which is this one, we should now see the box thing. And we can drag it out. And there we go. We have the box thing. So let's see. Our trims have seemingly worked so far. We've got 2 different colors on there. So let's see. Primary. Okay, that primary is already set. It's metallic for some reason. Oh, never mind. So let's just make this fully white. And then we can... So primary is white. Or that. This bit is blue. And we can make the inner bit... Okay, I've set my trims up wrong. But you can see how it works, basically. I must have set my trims up wrong at some point, but... you can see how the trims have somewhat worked. We've got this part is separate from the other parts. Maybe I didn't need the primary, but yeah, you can see that it's basically, that's how the trims work. So let's see, has this thing got a correct attachment point? It looks like it. Let's just get a part out to put it on top of. And yeah, there you go. So it's attached correctly to this fuel tank. You can see here, it's connected to the box thingy. And this thing, if we go into here now, we can see it's got fuel. What I can actually do here to prove that we actually have fuel to use in this thing is we're going to make a little craft real quick. And put an engine on it. And we're going to want a command chip for that. Oh yeah, and also you can see here, this is the custom menus I was talking about. So this is a mod I was making. This is someone else's mod, and these are the other part categories. So you can see the picture on them is customized, and that's how you do that. And this is also from one of my mods. It's just not in a category, so that's where that would go. Well, no, it is in a category. It's in structural parts, but yeah. So we've got a command chip, and make sure this has 0 fuel, and this should have fuel. So what we can do now is get rid of this and launch, and we should be able to launch because we should have fuel as long as the fuel lines are working. No, okay, so I forgot that the red color has a mission on it, so that's why this is glowing. Oh, so there you go. See, there's no fuel. There should be no fuel in this fuel tank, although it's actually considering them as 2 fuel tanks. But if we go to selected tank, we can now see that this tank has 0. This tank has plenty of fuel, and it's going to drain the fuel. So yeah, you can see that that's working as a fuel tank, which is awesome. So that's how you can do that. And this is just a fully custom part. As you can see, it's selected the whole part. So that's really awesome. That's basically how you add pretty simple custom parts, but you can do very complex things if you know how to model well, and you know how to work with the part modifier as well. So hopefully you found this tutorial very useful. I'd like to give a massive thanks out to my very much growing members list as of recently, which includes Pedro, ISA Industries, Reknarek, Adamcat, Puggly Wuggly, Bazak, and Karnasa. So massive thanks to all of you, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.